and welcome to the fourth ever episode of the New Podcast. My name is Steven, as always joined by producer extraordinaire Kelly. We've had a huge weekend and week to recap on in the world of WWE, the world of UFC, the world of Bellator, and even, backed by popular demand, karate combat. Tons of things to talk about this week. Great show to be on, our fourth episode. Can't believe it. Going strong. I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface yet. What I wanted to talk to you about today was touching base on my take from last week about the whole WWE and UFC crossover. I wanted to talk a bit more of, one thing I should have brought up was who would make it in the WWE from the UFC or any other MMA organization as well. First thing that name popped into my head was Daniel Cormier. He's a huge fan of wrestling, and his whole rivalry coming up, hopefully with Brock Lesnar, showed a little bit of that, how much he does love WWE and the showmanship of that. Lots of fighters, I think, could make it. Who you got anybody in mind? A loudmouth guy you think would make it in the WWE there, Kelly?
Oh, man, I have no idea.
Because it's really about talking skill. I think that Colby Covington, I think he could be really good. He's got like the bit of that show-offness. The one thing about WWE is they want more of the bigger dudes. There has been rumors of Travis Brown potentially he was in the Performance Center, and potentially he could be making the crossover as well. And one huge one, I don't know how well he would do, but the biggest name at this every 6 months, they have a huge crew of people who go to try to make a WWE. Cain Velasquez was there. You know what I mean? I don't know how good he'd be on the mic, but as this huge, intimidating, tough dude, I think he would do perfect for that. He's got the look. He's got the size. Can he stay healthy? Even, WWE is not as easy on your body as UFC in a whole, just because of the constant wrestling you're doing. You could be going 300 days a year on the road with no breaks. Could Cain Velasquez make it? But I think the number one guy, even though he is a bit smaller, would be Conor McGregor making the transition over to WWE, just simply because of his mouth. He could be a lot like an Enzo Amore, a smaller guy that could just make it on his mouth alone. Who knows if he could be a manager or something, but I think Conor would be the best fit for WWE. If he is a total piece of shit, I think that would translate over, and he could be a perfect heel in any kind of organization, whether it be Lucha Underground, TNA, or especially where all the money is, WWE.
What about Pat Barry?
Yeah, Pat Barry, that's actually a good one. Yeah,
very likable guy.
That's a great bring up, actually, Kelly. He's very animated. He can talk. He is a big dude. I think it would be best for his career, because basically his fighting career is over. He just can't take a punch, unfortunately, anymore. Great call. I could totally see Pat Barry being huge in WWE. Yeah, I think for his career, get in touch with his people, and I think you may have something there, man. Just because the facial expressions he makes, and he's got a mouth on. That's a great point, man. But that's gonna bring me to my take of Conor McGregor and his upcoming fight. Conor McGregor, he's got lots and lots of fans and lots of people who hate him. I was both. When he first started, I loved him. When he was at 145 and he was beating everybody up and doing it in crazy fashion, I thought, man, this guy is the next big thing. This guy is really going to carry the division, especially for 145, which had been dominated for such a long time by Jose Aldo at the time. And he was doing it much more humbly, I think. When he first started, obviously his KO of Marcus Brimage was kind of just a stepping stone. And then his decision, he did get tagged by Max Holloway. That was obviously a huge, when Max Holloway was still quite young as well. And then to beat out, the fight that stuck out for me the most was the Diego Brandao KO. That was a really, really good fight. And I thought people started talking really then. Obviously, his next, I think he headlined, he did headline against Brandao. I think it was in Ireland on a fight night. But his fight against Dustin Poirier, I think, was really the one where people really started turning heads. To knock out Dustin Poirier was a big knockout. Dennis Seaver obviously wasn't, he did win, but that wasn't, Dennis Seaver is just a really tough dude. No, everyone beats him up. Obviously, Chad Mendes was his first big test, and he did win that. And then to go on to fight Jose Aldo in that quick one, that's, I think, when Conor took a turn for the worst. And I think his total dickheaded attitude came out. His chauvinist went over the top. He's got a mouth like no other, and he can use it well. But I think he has also used his mouth for bad as well. His mouth has got what made him money. His in-ring ability obviously has been one of those things where he is unmatched in the striking, but his mouth got him where he is. His mouth got him all these title shots. His mouth got him got the fans loving him, got Dana loving him, and his mouth got him the Floyd Mayweather fight. If he was just some guy who never talked, he would never got that Floyd Mayweather fight, and obviously where he got all of his money. And he did say in the press conference he's a made man. He doesn't need to do anything again. I highly doubt that. There's lots of rumors swirling around that he has pissed his money away, flying 20 Irish dudes, buying all their coke and their booze from Ireland, and then a round trip back to New York and then back to Ireland. That's not going to be a cheap flight. I can tell you that much. He has picked and chosen his fights, unfortunately, as well. I think that's got to be his biggest knock on Conor McGregor. He has MMA has always been, especially UFC, has been about the best guys fight the best guys, and that has not been the case when it's come to Conor McGregor. He has fought a lot of the toughest dudes, for sure. His Jose Aldo win, which was huge. That was the number 1 versus number 1 match. I totally agree. But leapfrogging the 155 division and instantly getting that huge, easy matchup against Eddie Alvarez, I thought was disgusting. How he leapfrogged that whole division and just gets the chance, because he knew it was an easy fight for him to win. Eddie Alvarez isn't that good. Eddie Alvarez was good. He's always been an undersized dude. He's got a great heart. No one can take that away from Eddie Alvarez. He's got one of the biggest hearts in MMA, if not the UFC alone. But he's not the best. He's not the best boxer. That's the thing. I think he leans on his boxing more than he should. When he should lean on his wrestling more. But unfortunately, he leans on his boxing more. And I don't think it's ever been his bread and butter. I think all those knockouts and everything are adding up with time. Obviously, Eddie Alvarez has been in the game for quite a long time. But to leapfrog everyone, get the Eddie Alvarez fight, to win, it was a piss poor showing from Alvarez as well. I tell you that much. He had nothing going for him on anything. He was getting lit up at will. It just disgusted me. And in turn, Conor ducked a lot of fighters when he did that. There was a ton of dudes who were calling him out, like Frankie Edgar, which I think he would definitely take that fight now because Frankie's been cold-cocked a few times. He's been in so many wars. Cowboy was a big name. Donald Cerrone was really calling out Conor, and Conor was just every time turning down the contracts to fight Cowboy, obviously because he's just so good on his feet and on the ground. That'd be a huge mismatch. And size-wise, I think, as well. Once again, Conor would probably fight him now because his chin hasn't been as great. And obviously we get to Khabib, who he ducked forever, but obviously that ducking has caught up to him, where he has no choice but to fight him. One thing that always has pissed me off about Conor as well, guy never defended his titles once. How could you be a champ and not defend your titles? You still have, and then the thing that pissed me off the most is when he won the 155-pound belt, he says he's going to defend them both. He says, oh, no, I can be active enough to defend both, and then instantly says, oh, I'm taking 8 months off. So you go from saying, oh, no, I'm going to defend both these titles. No, I'm going to take 8 months off. Oh, no, actually, it's going to turn into 2 years because I'm going to go box and get a ton of money from Floyd Mayweather. I just thought it's just terrible. You're not a true champ unless you defend your titles. And that is 100% one of the truest statements in fighting. Sure, you can win the title, but you are not the true champ until you defend that title. And Conor has not done that for either one. Will his fight, if he comes back, if he wins against Khabib, he will be the champ again, but still has never defended. And that's one of his most disgusting stats. Obviously, we can go for the amount of time he has, the last time he has been, and the guy I think he has number 1 for never defending his titles for the longest period of time. All those stats, just the fact that he didn't defend them ever is disgusting, and turned down tons and tons of people for doing it. I don't like people who pick and choose their fights when it comes to MMA. Boxing, they do that. I don't like that in MMA. The one to talk about is smack talk. To get back to on his mouth, the guy's smack talk is so played out now. It's all about just how rich he is and how poor his opponent is. I think that's the dumbest smack you can come up with. He talks all this shit, and against Floyd Mayweather, he couldn't pull out that smack because Floyd Mayweather pisses more money than he'll ever make. But one thing that struck me was always when him and Nate were always going back and forth. All the thing he could ever say about was Nate's clothes. From a guy who came from welfare, you're gonna smack on a dude's clothes? Like, that's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. It's super hypocritical. And if I understand he's going for a wow factor, for the shock factor, but come up with something else. Come up with something else other than the dude's clothes. Give me a break. Getting to all his videos that has been posted in the last few years, they aren't showing him doing blow, but they might as well have with how whacked out he looked, and obviously drunk, and whether or not the video of him fighting some Irish mafia guy, whatever happened with that, and I don't really believe that one to an extent. We've all been to the bar and some dude said this and said that about himself, and it's just all because he has a cousin who's a brother, whose aunt, whose grandpa knew a guy who was in organized like Hell's Angels or organized criminal activity. So who knows? I think that's probably what happened in this situation with Conor. He just some dude who thought he knew, and I don't think it was, because nothing came of it. You get beat up, you get beat up. He did obviously beat him up, but just the video of him, like, he looked so whacked out when he was like going to smack and then smack that guy with a backhand. It just was. If you haven't seen the video, check it out. He does look whacked out. I can tell you that much. And that brings up the point of, I totally agree with one thing that made sense out of the whole press conference that Khabib said, was that Conor should be using his mouth and his fame for good. And he has not been doing that. Hasn't been a great role model for a younger generation. He's been a total douchebag piece of shit role model for a younger generation of these white trash idiots who are probably going to go out and get their head kicked in because they think they're Conor McGregor, just because they also share an Irish heritage, which obviously Conor is 100% Irish, and these guys are going to come out and think they have, so I can smack talk some dude, I can also fight. No, you can't. That's what has always been Conor's anomaly, is that he's the dude who backs it up. To the date, he's done zero humanitarian work. And what has he really done? It was even his community service he's got to serve for the Dolly incident. It should be something he does on a regular basis. And if he's got all this money, he's got all this, he's got all that, dude should be doing more humanitarian work. Number one, get in touch with Bono. I'm sure he can help you out with distributing that money. We touched base on it last week, was just this huge conflict of interest, and I think that's been Conor's thing too that I hate as well, with his conflict of interest with Dana wanting a stake in the UFC before he fight again, for the simple fact that he has his whiskey sponsorship on the ring, and countless other times there's been such a conflict of interest with this dude. It is disgusting, and how he gets away with it. Perfect example was the flyweight girl couldn't make weight, got sick. They instantly strip her of the title. Instantly. No questions, no nothing. She's done. She's done, you know what I mean? And doesn't even get a chance to fight for the title. It's going up to two other girls now. Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Svetlana. You know what I mean? And boom, she loses her title. Conor gets to do where the hell he wants. And they just recently, you know what I mean, with the Dolly incident at that New York press conference, did they say, we're stripping you of your titles? The guy I feel the worst for out of all this is Tony Ferguson. Talk about a guy who has been so out of the loop from bad injuries that he's just fallen off. He was supposed to be the next guy. He was supposed to get the Khabib shot. He got injured. You know what I mean? He definitely, I would guarantee he would maul Conor. And I think he has a very winnable chance against Khabib because his ground game is so good. His bottom game is so good. With slick submissions. I feel super sorry for Tony Ferguson, because it really should be his name in lights, and he should be this guy we're all talking about, rather than this piece of shit Conor McGregor. If he loses, I see him retiring from MMA. I think he's going to hang it up. I think he's going to say, fuck y'all, I'm out, I lost, I could still make more money, but I'm going to leave. I don't care. I'm just going to I'm just going to leave. And I think he's going to hold out for more money again. But I think he's going to retire. I think if he loses, and I can guarantee, like I guaranteed on the last show, he will lose. He's going to get ground and pounded to a KO, or he's going to catch it. He's going to catch a punch on the way in and get put on his butt and then pounded out. I can guarantee that's what's going to happen. Conor has the amount of ring rust he's going to have from all that partying, all that spending. I know he's hitting the bag hard now, but how is it going to translate over? Is he going to make weight? That's a big rumor. He may not make weight. He's looking a little chubbier than normal. I'm sure he's more than a professional when it comes to fight preparation. But his chin is not going to be what it was before. His chin was already a bit suspect, and I think Khabib is going to come in and really put it on him. I can guarantee he's going to go for a shot. Conor's going to be prepared for it, but I don't think he's going to be prepared for the strength that Khabib is going to get. There's going to be a lot of clinch game, a lot of ground and pound, and I think that's how it's going to end. It's going to end from a TKO from mount or half or even quarter or just straight up half in guard, pound it out. I can guarantee that's what's going to happen. Is his chin just can't hold up with the amount of partying he's been doing. If he wins, though, who does he fight next? Where does he go for a super fight? Because apparently he signed an 8-fight deal. I don't know how true that is. I can't unfortunately believe anything Dana says anymore when it comes to Conor. But who do you think he fights? Who do you think he fights next, Kelly?
GSP.
Yeah, I think that's obviously the hugest money fight for both dudes. And is, if this rumored 165 division does happen, will it be a 165? I'm sure it'd probably be more likely 170, but I think at least if it is at 165, it makes it more of a believable match for the fans, not just the super fight catch weight. And I think that it will obviously draw tons and tons of people. I think more globally than in the States. But I think obviously the UFC needs to grow their global brand even more, and what they are doing. I think it has to be Tony Ferguson. I feel for the dude. I think it has to be him. But does Conor stay at 155? Does he go to 145? Does he go to this newly apparently formed 165 if he wins? I'm calling it here to just to go over in conclusion of this whole Conor McGregor debacle. Guy's a total piece of shit. He's got to change his persona around for the good of MMA and for the good of Irish people. You can't go around saying fuck this, fuck that to a generation that looks up to you so much for one guy to really control the MMA world by the balls. He's got to be one of those guys that steps up and is a better role model. But that being said, I think his time is up. It's the Khabib era. It's going to be a ground and pound finish for the new one and the solidified 155-pound champ. And it should be. Does Khabib hold for longer? I don't know. Another injury-prone dude. I just don't see Conor getting out of this any other way. He has gone up against grapplers before, but nothing like this. With that being said, I want to do a little breakdown of the card. It is a stacked card. I am super excited for it. It goes down next Saturday. Kelly and I got an invite to an exclusive party. Very exclusive. to go watch it, and I am super excited. It should be a one hell of a card. The whole thing, top to bottom. We got, I just thought it was weird that Gray Maynard and Nick Lentz were even on, like in the main card. Obviously, they're at the bottom. They're at the very bottom when it comes to it. Of course, yeah, I'm not a really huge fan of Nick Lentz or Gray Maynard. I'm surprised he's still fighting. Ryan LaFleur versus Tony Martin. Ryan LaFleur, took a little time off. I think he had a shoulder problem or something. He was a title contender there for a little while. Sergio Pettis versus Jussier da Silva. I love the da Silva story. A dude who came from absolutely nothing and he had to support his whole family. But back in a time when 125 really wasn't anything, he was a Shudo champ back then. Great story coming out from Brazil with that guy. Up against Sergio Pettis, probably one of his toughest challenges. There's Sugar Shane O'Malley. He's on the card. I think it looks like he's probably going to be like the main event of the undercard. That dude's got a very promising career against Jose Alberto Quinozzi. That should be another stepping stone for Sean O'Malley coming through. They're going to give him some tough tests. And that's what you always get at UFC with these tough all-American wrestler type dudes. Oh, the Karate Hottie versus Felice Herring, Michelle Watterson. That should be a good fight too. That's probably going to be on the first fight of the main card. That should be, two girls who like to punch. That should be a really good fight. But with the gets to the heavyweight division, Alexander Volkov versus Derek Lewis. Now that one's going to be fireworks. Two dudes who really like to swing it. I think it's going to be Derek Lewis going for the takedowns in this one, though. Most of those European dudes, they just aren't the best, but Russians are good grapplers. We'll see how that one turns out. I think that one's going to be really good. Dominic Reyes versus Ovince Prue. I don't know much about this Dominic Reyes guy. He is 9-0. Oh, we can go fighting against OSP. Oh, he did knock out Jared Cannonier. That guy had a lot of hype behind him. He's choked out Jeremy Kimball and Joaquin Christensen. He knocked out too. He's 3-0 in his UFC. He's from the States, from California. Dominic the Devastator Reyes, and undefeated in his amateur career too. This is a huge fight for him too. Fights out of cage combat. Should be a good fight, but obviously the co-main event, Tony Ferguson versus Anthony Pettis. I think it's kind of weird that Anthony Pettis would be up here. I know I think he's won his last few fights, but I just don't see we don't see the consistency from him that we used to. He triangled Michael Chiesa. He got body triangled by Dustin Poirier before that. Beat Jim Miller. Lost to Max Holloway. Beat Charles Oliveira. So he's kind of at an up and down. Last 5 fights, he's 3-2. But I think Anthony Pettis has obviously still got something in the tank. But up against, we talked about beforehand, Tony Ferguson. Dude's just one of the toughest dudes at 155 on the planet. Beat you so many ways. He hasn't lost since Michael Johnson way back in 2012 in UFC. He's got a ton of UFC wins. Huge win over Kevin Lee. Rafael Dos Anjos he beat. Lando Veneta. Edson Barbosa. Josh Thompson. Gleison Tebow. April Trujillo. Danny Castillo. Katsuno Kikono. Man, he's had some really good wins. Whatever happened to Kevin Lee since that fight? Has Kevin Lee got something coming up here? He was a guy who had a lot of...
He had staph infection.
Oh, staph. Yeah, that is what it is. Yeah. He did beat Edson Barboza by TKO. And it was this year. It was in April. Yeah, staph infection, man. That'll get you. Shortened the career of Kevin Randleman. He had a super bad staph infection that he got sick from, and he was never the same after that. Obviously, that wasn't far in the end of his career, but he was super messed up from that afterwards. And then obviously it brings us to the main event, Khabib versus Conor. A lot of people are saying Conor's gonna win. You know what I mean? I don't think he's got it this time. The ring rust, the partying, and just the fact that Khabib is such a good grappler, and people want to say he looked bad in his fight against Ally Quinta. I think he was just playing that fight super, super safe. But he can't be denied, and especially for a dude who can go 5 rounds against Conor, who has not been known to go the distance. Everything just falls in the favor in my mind to bet on Khabib. Huge, undefeated, huge list of casualties. The guys beating up everyone at 155, and injuries have plagued his career. And I think this is gonna be his shining moment, bringing the belt to Russia. And that goes down next Saturday. We could even maybe do a show during. You know what I mean? I wonder what kind of copyright laws are being involved with that. You know what I mean? Or a post show or something like that right after. That'd be kind of fun, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. Something to think about. Getting some MMA out of the way. Let's talk about WWE. Starting off with Raw. I really like the Raw again. Raw's still been really pulling out all the stops with some great shows recently. With the opening segment with Stephanie McMahon coming out and laying down the law on Constable Corbin. I thought it was a good move. Good to see Stephanie back. And just to say how, how Corbin's kind of whining about the Shield and this and that, and then the Shield to come down to the ring, and Dean Ambrose finally gets to talk, because I just thought it was so weird that he hasn't been talking recently, especially I would consider him as the mouthpiece for the Shield. He gets to say something. I kind of like that move by the Shield. They're kind of staking their claim, and I think it's claiming their yard, as Roman Reigns would say. and I think it is still leading up to this. What I've been talking about forever is the stable movement that we're going to see. We're going to see a lot of teams come down the pipe, and I think that's kind of what he's doing. He's kind of making fun of them, and then just saying how no one can compete with them and stuff like that. And then for Corbin, I liked how it was kind of a mystery who his tag team partners was going to be in the 3-on-3 match. I was a bit weirded out by the script of the Strowman squad to kind of turn Dean Ambrose against the team. It was a little bit too scripted for me. I thought it was okay, and I see where they're coming from. I see the idea of what they're doing, but I just thought it was to have them where I think Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre kind of go on their own when they want to say stuff. It definitely felt super scripted with what they were saying, and it wasn't the best move. But like I said, I think it worked. Very weird. You see, I posted that video of that girl getting kicked in the face. It was a tag team match with the Bellas versus the Riot Squad, and man, did Brie just whoop her in the face. Ugh, that was tough to look at because the first kick totally knocked her down, like knocked her loopy. Didn't knock her right out, but knocked her loopy. And then she's going down to stop from getting kicked. She eats an even bigger kick in the head. And they tried to pick her up afterwards. She was out of it. She definitely was loopy. Those are two huge kicks right to the face. We don't need, like I was saying, I've said documented now, I'm not a huge fan of the new breed of the Bella's return. And this is a perfect example of it. They don't need any more girls injured. They already have Ronda and Nia injuring enough girls as it is. They don't need Brie Bella injuring girls as well, let alone she could have injured herself in the Raw before that. They got to do something about. They got to send her down to NXT or something because this is just getting a little out of hand now. You're going to be taking out young talent like this, shortening her career for sure. That is a huge KO on that one. Nasty shit by the Bellas and that. The flip-flopping on Jinder is very weird. They got him as this guru at peace guy that everyone needs. Shati or whoever the heck it is praying his centering of your mind stuff and meditation. Sure, if you want to go with that, be the nice guy and go with that, go for it. But now he's evil again. I'm just kind of confused, and he beats up one of the Singh brothers there. It was a very weird move. I think him and Foxy worked together for the mixed match challenge, but they got to go with one thing or the other. It's gonna get totally lost on the fans. I loved him as a heel. He was such a good bad guy as the foreigner bad guy. I loved it, but to make him the good guy and now he's the bad guy again. So I'm just confused what they're doing with Jinder. Another Canadian dude. They gotta figure out what the heck they're doing with him. Speaking of two dudes, they need to figure out what the hell they're doing with Chad Gable and Bobby Roode. It's just getting a little weird. It's getting creepy. Their tag team is just, they love each other too much. Chad Gable, I think, would do good in MMA, but his wrestling career is really starting to stink it up. A dude who can't even make it on singles. He's just getting these odd pairings. Just not a huge fan of it. And just like their dynamic of how much they love each other and how positive they are towards each other, it's just coming out very, very weird. And I think the fans are just turning their back on it. I like how the Revival's right in their the rightful spot where they belong, jobbing. Hopefully those guys will be on the out. The dumbest thing about the Revivalry, I hate them. Worst tag team ever. They say flips, or they say fists, not flips, is their whole thing. But the one guy goes for a Texas Tornado DDT off the apron. That looks like a flip to me, buddy. I don't know what the hell your whole saying is just dumb as shit. Go away, Revival. I just hate you guys. No mic skills. You're somewhat decent in ring, but you don't deserve to be on the main roster. I like the Kevin Owens show, coming back with the Kevin Owens show with Elias. I thought that was a cool little take. I like that move. It was a little kind of like a talk show more than just the Kevin Owens show with the desk and everything. I thought that was a cool move, and I am a bit confused by the Leo Rush, but I love the move when they said, "Oh, come on, Leo Rush down to the ring. We got a chair for you," and they pull out a booster seat. I thought that was a really funny moment. The dude is super small. I thought that was I laughed at that. That's for damn sure. But I think they're kind of building up something here. I think Kevin Owens with Elias Sampson would be a good heel stable to start off with. I think Elias has got to be on his own though. But I think they're experimenting with Kevin Owens in different groups. That is the big rumor that Paul Heyman is creating this heel stable, and Kevin Owens is supposed to be the main guy with it. And I think it would work, kind of like like ones that we've seen in the past, like Bobby Heenan family would be something like that. Just a bunch of heels thrown together. I think it works, and I think with Kevin Owens, it's going to be good regardless. I did like what they did with the choice of AOP joining Baron Corbin in the main event. I was kind of wondering who they would have with him, but it made sense. I think AOP could join those Strowman squad, as really make them a really crazy stable, especially with Baron Corbin in the front of it. I think that actually could be a really good team. But I like the move. I'm not the biggest fan of AOP, but they do their thing. One guy is Canadian too, he's actually from Abbotsford. So that's, that's it's kind of cool. They both have an MMA background as well, the AOP guys. I think we see obviously the first crack in the McIntyre and Ziggler team up, and I think obviously could we see this flip-flopping actually of McIntyre joining the Shield? I know that's what they said, but is that too obvious of a move? I don't know, but I think he'd be the fourth wheel, which is makes sense. You want four wheels, but I think in this group he wouldn't fit in the Shield. I think being in the heel stable he's in right now would be the best fit for him. Alicia Fox, talk about somebody who's had has been in the WWE for so long, but still sucks so bad. I like how when she's a mean girl, but it's just her in-ring ability still needs so much work. It's just never been that good. And I think when it comes to her seeing TV time, I don't know why she's on TV. I really couldn't say how she's not on the dark matches still. Is she filling in for an injured girl? I don't know, but Alicia Fox has got to stay off TV. It's just not that good. I like what they're doing with these mega events, like the Saudi Arabia one, the event in the Super Showdown, in Australia, the Saudi Arabia one, the Crown Jewels. I really like these mega events. I think it really adds to the global brand, to these places who don't get to see WWE that much. They get a mega, like a Super Bowl type event in these massive, huge stadiums, and they fill out right away. The last one in I can't remember the heck it was, the Greatest Royal Rumble. I think that was in Saudi Arabia. That one was one of those huge events, massive arena. I think it really worked out really well. It was kind of crazy, Kelly, to explain to you, because they have the whole floor was just dedicated to VIP princes and that type of thing. And they had these massive chairs, kind of like this chair. I'm sitting in the studio. It was so they just have massive chairs, but there was probably only 20 chairs aside. There really wasn't that many, so it was only the rich got to sit in these seats up front, but they really weren't the fans. That's what was kind of weird. There were more of the people like the princes and people who were super high up in their caste system over there got these seats, but they weren't a lot of people were standing. Most of the seats people were just walking around, weren't doing it. So it was kind of weird where the actual seats were the mega fans, where all the people were cheering and doing all the chants and that type of thing. So it was kind of a weird thing with that. I don't know if they'll do that again in this one. I know this Saudi Arabia loves WWE, like most places in the world. Everyone loves it, and it's going to sell out everywhere. But I just like what they're doing. I'm really excited to see how this Australian show turns out. Another open arena, and I think it just builds the brand even more to have I guess one every quarter. It almost seems like they're doing even more than that. Have one of these mega events, 4 a year, 5 a year. I think it really works for it. You grab me a drink here. I go for a smoke here afterwards. They're not talking about the cigarettes. Talk about the medicine kind, the good stuff. I think it's okay to say we do live in BC, where we live in BC. I'll leave that up to your imagination. But with Canada, we're going to be legalizing it soon. I think it's been great for everybody, great for medicine people. People who like medicine. No, I think it's just been one of those silly things to go up against, but it will be legalized here at the end of October, which is good, and good for everybody. On to SmackDown. Opening with R-Truth again. Truth TV. I really love the segment of Truth TV. It was such a good, the 7-second dance off. with Carmella. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was really something cool and fresh, and I thought it really worked. The crowd loved it. My kids were jumping off the walls when they saw it too, and I thought it was a really good more R-Truth on SmackDown. I think he's really working well. The other guys they tried to push, like Ty Dillinger, just didn't work out. I love R-Truth. He's always been that good worker. I've talked about him every show how awesome he gets. Somehow he's getting better. But Miz comes in obviously and ruling the mic as always. I thought he had a great match with R-Truth for the opening match. I thought it really worked out well. I know it was kind of like if Miz won, he would get his show back. But I do like Miz TV too. I like Truth TV a lot. I hope we see a lot more of it. And his pairing with Carmella is helping both of them. I think it really is, and I think they do feed off each other. I like the Becky Lynch attack on Charlotte Flair in the back, kind of during the photo shoot. I thought it was a really cool move, where she beat her up, and then, she's like, take a picture of me, while I'm the champ here. I thought that was a cool little move. Good for Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston, one of those dudes too. He's always been everywhere, but broke a record, 954 days as a tag team champ. Like, good for Kofi to have any kind of record. Great guy in the Royal Rumbles, which I'm a huge fan of. Royal Rumble's probably my favorite pay-per-view event. I've just loved it as a kid so much, and I still love it to this day with everything. And Kofi's really kind of that's where he made his money. Like Shawn Michaels. That's where Shawn Michaels really came into his own, was the Royal Rumbles as well. And I know Kofi is a huge fan of Shawn Michaels. So that's probably why he wanted to kind of have his own bit of history with the Royal Rumbles, with his, getting out of the ring. He does a lot of really cool moves. And good for Kofi Kingston, 954 days. Great career. I like the New Day. I did not think the New Day was going to work. I really thought. Good friend of mine. We'd always talked about how I hated the New Day when they first came out and they were being booed and they were kind of heels. But somehow it got over. It just eventually got over. And here we are today. Is the New Day is one of the biggest teams of all time, possibly, in WWE for a 3-man team, just to help their success. With Kofi Kingston is obviously their main super tough dude. It works for them. They all can talk. And, obviously the popularity of Xavier Woods' video, he was involved in a sex video, which worked huge for him. But I think his YouTube channel, Up, Down, Down, his video game channel, is blowing up. It's huge. And especially, I think that's why I love to talk about WWE, is so many people, ears are open to it. WWE, Kofi King, and Xavier Woods' show, they're like one of the top rated shows for subscribers and views. Especially WWE is the most subscribed to sports entertainment YouTube channel out there right now, and it just goes to show, you attach something to the WWE, people listen. They love to listen to it. What happened in Milwaukee with Lana, with the whole Rusev Day breakup, and now for Aiden English to come out and say, aren't you going to tell Rusev what happened in Milwaukee? I think they're still trying to hold on to that storyline. What happens from here? At least somebody's going to probably listen to it. Good move for that rivalry, because I thought it was over for both of them. Rusev would go on back to being kind of Rusev, and then Aiden English would definitely disappear. But I guess Aiden English still has more time on his contract. He's not done yet, so they're making him do some kind of work. But obviously, what happened in Milwaukee, we'll find out. Randy Orton's attack on Ty Dillinger, I thought it helps out Ty Dillinger. I think it works. I was just so glad he's not sticking his fingers in Jeff Hardy's ear holes anymore. I'm glad we're not going to have to see that anymore. I guess it gives good Ty Dillinger a bit of a push. We'll see what happens to that. It'll probably just be squash match after squash match of Randy Orton coming out of nowhere and RKOing Ty Dillinger, and Ty Dillinger eventually one time getting his comeback, and then they go to a pay-per-view, and then Ty Dillinger gets squashed again. So you can guarantee that one. That's going to happen. I really liked the end of SmackDown, though. It was kind of a quick SmackDown, I thought. I thought it was a great show. They really went back to the formula they had before of great shows. But with the end, with Samoa Joe going to AJ Styles' house and just teasing him, it was kind of weird how AJ's like, Joe, dude, don't do it, dude, don't do it. So it was kind of a bit weird with AJ Styles kind of pleading to Samoa Joe when he can't hear him. So it was a bit weird with that, but I think what they should have went for was more of a dramatic effect with Joe kicking the door in to the house. I think that would have, and then to go black for the camera to go black the way it did. I think it did. I think it really worked, but I think it should have been Samoa Joe doing something more drastic to the house. Like I said, like kicking the door in or something to that effect. Lighting a fire. I don't know. Maybe that's over the top. Something like that. Something like that. Good ending to SmackDown though. I really enjoyed it a whole bunch. Kelly, you watch wrestling yet? No. So one day.
I'm sorry.
One day. No. I'm just asking. No, you don't have to. I'm just asking.
Quit forcing me. No, just kidding.
Oh, the next pay-per-view, I'll invite you. The pay-per-views are the fun parts, or like when the real shit happens. I'll invite you over to my house next pay-per-view.
Sounds good.
Yeah, they're always a lot of fun. The only problem with it, they're usually like 4 or 5 hours. That's you don't have to stay for the. I know. You don't have to stay for the.
It's like a whole day. Can I take a nap?
Oh shit! That'd be you get a certain match where you can take a doze off to. That happens to me sometimes. You get like a real boring stinker of a match.
Nice.
Next SmackDown's gonna be huge. 1000th episode this Tuesday. It was already rumored that. Well, it's not rumored. It's actually confirmed. Evolution will be showing up with Ric Flair, Triple H, obviously, Dave Bautista coming off all of his movies. And Randy Orton. It is an easy fit because Randy Orton is a part of the brand as well already. So I think it's kind of a cool little move. What they'll do, I don't know. I bet you they'll probably come down to the ring. Then somebody from some jobbers will come down and say, "Hey, you guys are old and washed up," and then they'll get beat up. They'll let Ric Flair punch him in the face and say "woo," and then they'll move on. Either way, I think it'll be good. Who else is going to show up on the 1000th episode? It's rumored probably Edge, Christian. It's almost guaranteed Booker T. Something like that. Who else will show up? I don't know, but I'm excited for this Tuesday. And obviously the 25 years of Raw episode was huge. I really loved that episode. That was a awesome episode to watch. Even the behind the scenes part of it was really, really cool. Just having the two stadiums, having obviously the big stadium of the Barclays Arena, and then to have like the small venue where they used to record the episodes. I thought that was a really cool touch. And then to have the club meet up with NWO, NDX, and all of them to beat up the Revival. I thought that was a really cool touch for that. So who knows what the 1000th episode has in store? We'll find out. 1000 episodes, Kelly. Wow. And that's just like the show that they didn't. That was like the second show. So it's not even like the first show. This is just their second show. 1000 episodes.
So I'm a little behind.
You got some catching up to do. I watched the Scott Hall photo shoot. It was really good. Scott Hall is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Razor Ramon I really loved. Hey yo, I love it. I love it. Just chalk one up for the bad guys. I love it. Is the survey and really the worst part about Scott Hall was when he was playing the drunken Scott Hall. I really hated that angle. I don't know whose idea, it must have been him, but Scott Hall's just been one of those dudes. He had a really tough time when he was a young adult and shooting that dude in self-defense and killing that guy by accident, and obviously his dependency on drugs and alcohol have been well documented, his up and down career. But when he was Scott Hall and the end, the Outsiders to come over, and I thought it was just such a great angle when they first started NWO. Razor Ramon was one of my biggest wrestling, was one of my favorite wrestlers as a kid. And when he went over to WCW, I was like, okay, I'll watch because I love Razor Ramon, and that's what really got me on to loving WCW. And I love Kevin Nash too. Diesel was also one of my huge favorite guys too. So for both of them to come over, Scott Hall, he's got such a great career. He talked a lot with about Mr. Perfect, stories of Mr. Perfect, which I thought were awesome, and just different times working with Kevin Nash before they were in the NWO, and different things like that. It was just such a really cool photo shoot. I'm just such a huge fan of the guy. I think it really worked really well, and his story with DDP and just different things he did throughout his career, and I just thought it was really, really cool photo shoot. One of my favorite guys of all time. He's rumored that he's going to be making an appearance at one of these events coming up as well, to kind of, I think they're going to kick off a new era NWO. There's huge people keep swirling this around that they're doing meet and greets and signings as the NWO with Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. So we'll see what happens with that to come. I think it could work, but do they work together with the Balor Club or the NWO? Who knows? I know because they have already trademarked the Balor Club. Does the Bullet Club come over? They've apparently been in talks as well, so we'll find out what happens with that. But good show. Check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Really good show. The Mae Young Classic is really ramped up again. The first round just finished up. I thought it was a really good field of women this year. One in particular is Nicole Matthews, who unfortunately was just an alternate last year. Local girl. She's from Vancouver. Really, really, really. I've actually seen her wrestle at the ECCW Ballroom Brawls, which are just amazing at the Commodore. Amazing time. Super, super fun. It's an adult setting for wrestling. Tons of booze. You got to be 19 plus to go. Super good time. But the one thing that stuck out was when she did like a front flip slam off the apron, right onto the ground. I thought, man, that was really cool. And then to do kind of like that rock bottom off the stage, they really used. The first match, it was a mixed tag team match where it was 2 girls versus 2 boys. And it was a great match. The first match I ever seen Nicole Matthews, and she really wowed me then. And she is I guess in the independent scene, obviously she's traveled all over the world, Japan especially. I think she's definitely got the move set, and her mic skills obviously need some work. But hopefully she gets an NXT job out of this. It would be great to see her get an NXT job out of this. One dude who I've always loved was Ricochet, and I'm glad he's Prince Puma. I'm really glad he's in NXT now because he's really showcasing how awesome of a wrestler he is. One thing that sticks out in my mind was that front flip he did, no hands, no grabbing the ropes, right out of the ring, front flips right onto the ramp there that goes up. I thought that was an amazing move to showcase that dude's talent. Always loved when Prince Puma, when the first season of Lucha Underground, he was definitely my favorite guy of that season. Of that show, I really did grow to learn obviously Pentagon Jr. more, but Prince Puma obviously left later on. I think he did the right choice. He wasn't being, it's a tape show. He wasn't getting used as properly as he should have been. I think he still should have been. But I think I like where Lucha Underground was just constant switching of the champion. I think it's how you keep it fresh. Maybe let one guy hold it for a while. But like I said, it is hard to keep talent when you're only filming for 2 months out of the year, but these people are supposed to keep this storyline. So it is a bit odd with that, but I do like Lucha Underground. But Prince Puma had no choice but to leave. I'm glad he got picked up by NXT. I don't know if he could do good in the main roster. I think maybe NXT would probably be his best fit going forward. Could he fit on Raw or SmackDown? I don't know. I don't think so. He's got a great amount of charisma. In-ring ability is second to none. He's far too big to go to 205 Live. I really would hate it if he went to 205 Live. But he has that same fighting style at his size as all the guys at 205. I just don't think he has the greatest mic skills just yet to hang on his own at the main. Maybe he's a career NXT guy. Who knows? But good to see Nicole Matthews at the Mae Young Classic. She did get the win. She is going on to the next round. I think the next round is going to be, there's a lot of tough competition in this season of the Mae Young Classic. I think it's Mercedes Martinez is one of them. Obviously, Caitlyn, former Divas champ. They have a lot of Japanese stars that couldn't make it the last one. That EO girl, she really wowed me too. She was on the same episode as Nicole Matthews. She was really, really kind of a creepy Japanese style, which I really like, and I think she's kind of got a strong style as well. I think she could probably win the whole show. But we'll see what happens next round. It's actually really good. I'm excited for this season again. I've talked about it before, and I want to touch base on it today. Karate Combat. I finally got to see a full show. Really, really cool. The only time I was commenting on before, but I hadn't really seen much. I had seen one match here, one match there, and it's really cool how it was Karate Combat One World. It's at the One World Trade Center Observatory in New York, but it was being done on the 102nd floor in this observatory. So you're like, and it's just like a small room. It's like a hall, right? But the ring, it takes up so much. The ring's 21 by 21, like 21 and 4 inches by 21 and 4 inches. The walls are sloped 45 degrees and they're padded. And the rules are kind of crazy, but it has like that really, because it's invite only. Everyone's in suit and ties. Like you're in New York and all the windows are open, so you're just seeing the skyline in the background. It was really fucking cool. They had a Giphy, like Giphy, like the thing on Facebook. You can pick your GIFs to play. That was the main sponsor. in the middle of the ring. So I'm like, what is this? Like I said, Bitcoin had been the sponsor before. So it has like a blood sport feel to it, because it's like all these rich people. It's just a small crowd. It's in these weird, unique areas. They have like this whole thing, like dramatic music and shit like that. So they have like the red corner and the blue corner. The guy stands up on top of the ring. They call it the pit. They call it the karate combat pit. And so they stand. One guy stands here. He has the red light on him. One guy stands in the other corner. He's got the blue light on him. And then he's like from Tajikistan, something or other guy, and then like the other guy, and then it's like, fighters enter the arena, and then they both like hop down because they gotta like scoot down because there's slope walls, and then they right into it. What I really liked about it is they have MMA refs, they have like actual refs. They have a unique rule set though. It is like Sanshou, where you can do takedowns. You can do, you can grapple and you can do takedowns. Like you don't really shoot for a takedown, but when you clinch, you can toss the guy. So I really like that guy. I was a huge, of Kung Lee, and that's where I didn't even know what Sanshou was. And when Kung Lee came around a long time ago, I watched all his fights, and then I started watching Sanshou. It's actually really exciting. It's actually, but in Sanshou, it's all the takedowns are based on points. So if you get a takedown, the referee can give you a point. I think it's in between 1 or 5. Can be your points towards that takedown, and that will go towards your score at the end of the fight. There's obviously no point when it comes to this is more the takedown. So you can do throws with kickboxing, but you get 5 seconds on the ground. So if you toss a dude to the ground or he gets knocked down, you can beat the crap out of him for 5 seconds, and the refs count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he stops them all and stands up. Same with the clinching too. He'll give him 5 seconds to clinch. So the refs are really pushing the action. They're constantly saying like, fight, fight, fight. They're constantly getting in the guy's face. You gotta fight. You gotta fight. And most people do fight. It was all the fights were pretty action packed. I think that's what you're seeing that's what Boz was saying. This was really cool. Boz Rutan is the color guy on it. I think that's what the last few times has been more amateur dudes against good guys. So there's been a ton of knockouts. Where this one there was only a few knockouts and more decisions. You can really see the talent level. I think people's are starting to be aware of what karate combat is, and I think it's starting to turn some heads, especially when most of the guys are from, they fight out of America, but they're from another country, and they've started their own gym, but they also have another side job. That's what I was noticing when they're doing like a lot of the background stories. So it's kind of a feel good like that. All these people fighting for their American dream type thing. No uppercuts though. No uppercuts, no elbows, no knees. So I thought no uppercuts was really a weird one. Yeah, you know what I mean? So it just, it is more like karate, like punching, kicking, back fists you can do and stuff like that. So I guess it's more of a karate. I'm not a hugely versed with the rules for karate, but I guess maybe that's a karate rule. You can't uppercut in karate maybe, but you can do a lot of the kickboxing stuff. The first fight was crazy. The guy was losing the whole fight, getting his butt whooped. He had like a really weird, they were doing, because since you only have 5 seconds, people are doing these weird like bicycle kicks off their back on the ground. So it was like just to defend themselves. But the dude clipped him with this weird bicycle kick off the ground, and the guy's getting his ass kicked the whole fight. Comes back, then eventually the guy who's just been kicking the crap out of him gasses out in the end of the 3rd round. He just catches him with a super slow overhand right, knocks him loopy, and wins the fight. I couldn't believe it. This hungry guy, he didn't even look like really he had that much. From the exchanges he was losing, he just didn't look like he really had power behind his punches at all. And then he finds the power, he throws everything into one punch, knocks the other dude out. What I thought was funny though, so the dude gets knocked out. The doctors have to like slide into the ring. So the doctors like slide into the ring. They're wearing they're not wearing shoes because I guess it's easier because they're probably wearing like nice dress shoes. You probably couldn't walk on around in the ring. I just thought that was funny. They're just like, guys knocked out, shing, they slide into the ring because the walls are slow. I thought it was really cool because you aren't considered a grounded opponent. So if you're leaning up against the wall and a dude's just pounding you out, the ref's just going to let it go because you're not considered a grounded opponent unless your butt's on the ground. So if your butt's on the ground and your back's against the sloped wall, then the referee will start counting. So it had some really cool rules. I really think it's going to be it's really going somewhere. I'm really excited for the next one. Especially for, just like I said, the scenery. It was so cool to be on like that 102nd floor in New York. It was really amazing. Next one was a crazy KO. Dude from Dominican Republic, or I think it was Panama or something like that. And he just bapped the dude like 3 times, 3 huge overhand quick rights. And the third one, the ref had no choice but to stop it. But I think it was like a super quick. I think it was only like a minute. But Bas Rutten made like the funniest comment. He's like, he's fighting like he's double parked. Yeah, he's like so quick. I just love that, fighting like he's double parked. Only downfall I could see to it after watching this whole event was the counter fighters. In karate, you do get a lot of counter fighters. And they had one match where it was 2 counter fighters against each other, where the ref was constantly telling them to fight, and they were just seriously just standing in the middle of the ring, no one throwing anything for a good 20 seconds at a time. So I think that's the only downfall, where most guys with karate backgrounds are counter fighters. So this is what you're going to see. The fight ended up turning out to be too bad, but it definitely was a hindrance on the whole show. But the main event was really cool. You could really see the talent level with the 2 dudes in the main event. Both really, really tough dudes. And it was a really cool exchange. Both dudes were lightning fast. And it went to a close split decision. Really good fight, and I hope to see both those guys again. All in all, I'm very impressed with Karate Combat's professionalism. The announce team, obviously, I'm a huge fan of Bas Rutten. There's nothing, in my book, there's nothing that guy can do that's wrong. And it hit all marks on my point. Just like, where are they going to go next? I think it's what the coolest thing is, what I'm excited about. What venue are they going to be in next? And I think it's really, really cool. I think the one before this was in Greece, and it was a similar kind of like a smaller, like a hall type thing. But I'm really excited to see what it brings. It's just a bit of a different thing in combat sports, adding different rules, and all these dudes are going to bare knuckle boxing. Why don't they give this a shot? They have to wear like MMA gloves. They're more like open-handed, like MMA glove. And I'm just excited to see where it goes from here. Great event. Karate Combat One World. I'd recommend it, Kelly, to watch it if you get a chance. I missed Tough last week. Didn't record it. Totally forgot to record it. Missed it. Don't know what happened with the heavyweight fight. I wish I could have watched it. Catch up on it. But getting to Bellator. Bellator was a great... You know what? Hold on. Let's take a commercial break. Before we get into that, I got a whole Bellator take. Let's take a commercial break. And we'll get right back after these short messages. Oh, what seems to be the matter, dear? Oh, I just have nothing to watch on TV, and there's just nothing to do. Right, why don't you watch or listen to that new podcast? By Jove, wife, you've got it! Listen to the new podcast. It changed my life, and it can change yours too.
Proper 12 whiskey. Even when Connor has whiskey dick, he can still manage a proper 12.
Bellator put on a great show this Saturday. Weird that it was on the Danzin streaming service. I know a lot of people do like Danzin. Maybe I'm old school, I guess. I just want to. Why don't you have it just on Paramount channel, which I've been watching thoroughly on that channel. So I thought that was a bit of a weird move. Hopefully it didn't hurt their numbers, because I think it was a big card, and they should have put it just on the Paramount Network so they could get proper views and a proper reading with how many people were watching the show. I think it did great. A lot of hype behind it. I guess you can attribute it to the Danzin streaming service for promoting somewhat of it, because it's hard to promote it when you're just on that one TV channel. It doesn't get out much otherwise than that. Obviously, I guess being an MMA fan, I knew about this card long ago and was very excited about it. But who knows? I hope they did good. It was a good card. It had a few stinkers on it, that's for sure. Starting off with the first match on the main card. I watched the undercard too. It was actually some really good undercards, but I'm just going to comment on the main card today. When it comes, they had a ton of fights. I think there was 16 fights, but I think it's kind of weird. They do that in American shows. When we went to Affliction back in 2009, they had matches after the main event. You know what I mean? Kind of like the match while everyone's leaving. And I thought that was kind of a nice touch. And they do that with Bellator. Bellator always does that too. So there could be a group of dudes, just in case all knockouts, you still get your money's worth, and you'll see some amateur, like some underground dudes fight each other after the main event, which I thought was it's a nice touch. Sometimes you don't get to fight, sometimes you do. Either way, you know what I mean? It is interesting they do that. Starting off with Kerry Melendez versus Dakota Zimmerman. What a stinker. Just because you're married to a famous MMA fighter doesn't mean you're a very good MMA fighter there, Kerry. Unfortunately, that fight sucked. It was unfortunately showcased her inability to work on the ground. Her stand-up is good, but her ground game is atrocious. That's all I'm going to say on that. We get to see the Aaron Pico, the new age Aaron Pico against Leandro Higo. That was a really good fight, actually. Pico is now living up to his prospect watch name. He is knocking out dudes. He is showing he is on a different level. And Leandro Higo is no slouch. I thought it was it was actually a really good fight between both dudes. They both came out banging, but Pico just landed more bombs. The ref really let Higo take a beat down on that one. The ref really gave him the benefit of the doubt. Did you see that one, Kelly? It was probably far too many punches in my liking to see some dude eat. And even when he stood up, he couldn't even kind of stood up, and then he just instantly fell over. I think the ref should have definitely stopped it well before that happened. But he gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I can hope for the fight. The fighters usually appreciate that more than the latter. That's for sure. And then we get to Douglas Lima versus Andrei Korkashov. I practiced it like all weekend, and now I can't do it. Korkashov. All these Russians. But they put on a really good show. It was definitely the battle of the clinch, which these guys are no stranger to each other when it comes to fighting, and it was a really good fight. They went at it. No one was giving up on both ends. Lima, you could tell, was definitely the more game fighter when it came to the distance. I thought Andre would be a bit more game when it came to that, but with tons and tons of clinch, it worked out. It worked. It is what works best against Lima, but it looks like Diego Lima had came out with a game plan to use the clinch to his advantage as well, because usually he does get ground out, and I think this is probably the best gas tank we've seen Lima with, because you could really see Andre start to fade in the fourth, and that is really when Diego found that extra bit of fuel, found that little extra tank, and that's what makes a fighter to come out and to win that fourth and the fifth round. Obviously, great submission by Diego Lima. He's not really known for his ground skill. He does have, I think he is obviously a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he is known more for his stand-up, and I thought it was a great rear naked choke by him. Great to see Douglas Lima to win. Another good guy. I'm pretty sure he was the MFC. Yeah, he was. He was the MFC champ for the longest time as well. Before the move over to Bellator, really beat up everybody. There was the organization I was talking about last week, the Edmonton organization, where he had a great Ryan Ford, which was like basically their main guy. He beat the crap out of him. I don't like Ryan Ford. Yes, Juarez, Terry Martin, Steve Carl, Steve Carl was in Bellator, but long stay in Bellator. Had a great run in MFC. Been basically Bellator's main guy for quite some time. When was his first? Yeah, he's been fighting in Bellator for a long time, since 2011. Been one of their mainstays. I like him in that tournament. I thought it was a weird matchup putting him up against Andre so early. I thought they would maybe have Andre on the other side, because they're definitely two of their top 170s. I really like that 170s tournament, and I think it's going to be huge to see who's going to fight Rory. Brings us to Wanderlei Silva versus Rampage Jackson. Great fight for both those guys. I thought it was going to be very favorable for both those guys when it comes to standing and trading. Both of them obviously have been beat up by grapplers in their previous outings. But it was a good exchange. There was a lot of clinch, and I think it was initiated by Rampage, which I thought was weird. Usually he hates clinching, and I guess as he gets older, he looked probably the most out of shape at his age. I think he is an older dude, but I don't think his training ethics have changed, and they weren't good to begin with. But they came to bang. I thought it was a good Legends match. You know what I mean? Two older dudes, definitely well past their prime. You know what I mean? But I thought it was actually, this is what Bellator does best, to put on these Legends matches. And I think this was a perfect pairing of two dudes who had a long rivalry. And I thought Vanderlei was really actually connecting with some blows. I thought in the first round, I thought, you know what? I think Vanderlei could win this if he connects with a few more of those. He had Rampage rocked a few times. And not just mildly rocked, but it was a really good match between the two dudes. Vanderlei obviously started to tire out. He looked the most out of shape I think I've ever seen him in his career. Obviously, you know what I mean, dude's been fighting since he's 19. But he obviously started to gas, and that's when Rampage just started letting on and really finding his range and landing some good shots. I just like the fact that both the dudes took it to each other, and they didn't sit on each other and just kind of spar it up. I kind of thought it was going to be a sparring match, and I'm really glad it turned out to be a really good match actually for a Legends match. I love Bellator how they do these matches. Keep putting them on. They're huge draws in my mind, and it was. I hope both those dudes got paid, and we can see a next one here. You know what I mean? I'd love to see Legends coming up in the future. Ken Shamrock even against somebody, or even Hoist Gracie. You know, Hoist Gracie did good on his last outing. Who are those two dudes? You know, I mean, maybe Frank Shamrock maybe comes back for one. You know, who is really gonna throw their name in the hat when it comes to that? When it comes to the next good Legends match, it's tough to say with how many dudes are out there. Who's really willing to put not only their health on the line, but their reputation too? Even it could be a guy who you know has already been on the downside, or you know, a guy who went on top, you know, coming back. A loss at that older age could do damage to your reputation.
Rich Franklin.
Yeah, Rich Franklin. That is a good one. Yeah. Rich Franklin against Kung Lee again. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's a good one right there. Yeah. Good rematch. Both those dudes are kind of like basically retired. That's a great match. I think both those guys would take that matchup as well, and I think Bellator would buy that. It's a shame that the Chuck Liddell one is going to be Chuck Liddell versus Tito is going to be on Golden Boy promotion. So I'm wondering how that's going to be. Is it going to be pay-per-view? Because I don't see a lot of people buying Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz pay-per-view. So hopefully they just have it free on TV. That obviously makes the most sense when it comes to that kind of pay-per-view. But I don't know. That's why it would have been better if it was on Bellator. I would have definitely watched it. Bellator is putting on some great shows, though, with this mega matchup here. I think it was a perfect matchup with Gegard Mousasi versus Rory McDonald. Great fight for both of those guys' career to be able to be a part of a super fight like that. I thought it was kind of a weird calling out, and obviously it was orchestrated by Bellator. I wouldn't see Gegard Mousasi thinking, "Hey, I'm gonna fight Rory McDonald for the 185 belt," but I think their 185 division right now is probably his weakest. I can't remember the heck of his name for some stupid reason. The Russian dude, for him, he's failed so many piss tests. Can't remember the heck his name is. Huge Bellator long stay guy. Alexander Shemenko. Yeah, he's one of those dudes he was their 185 guy forever. Hector Lombard was their 185 guy forever too. Both those guys are obviously gone. Shemenko for constantly failing piss tests. I think he's gone for 2 years at least. Coming up here soon. So good for 185. I think it obviously will. They need more people in 185 for Bellator, but it was a good fight. And unfortunately for Rory, like you had said earlier, Kelly, and that Rory made the comment, he just wasn't mentally there, and you could just tell. Obviously from the first round blunders, and then that second, it was a quick match because that takedown was so sloppy. How are you going to do a takedown against a guy like Gegard Mousasi like that? It was, super weak takedown, and then to flip around to try for the leg. You're going up against one of the toughest grapplers in the world. You can't do that amateur gym shit to a guy like this. And obviously Gegard Mousasi really opened him up with some punches. I think that's what Gegard Mousasi has realized, is that he's a better ground and pounder than a submission guy. And his submissions are very, very good. But I think when you have that power in your hands, it's easier to pound someone out than to try to choke them out. Because with choking, you have limitations and obviously in angles. But when you're smashing some dude's head in when you're on top of them, so obviously could be a lot easier. And I think that he just pounded him and just never let up. And then when those elbows started coming down, you could really tell it was over. The referee did give Rory McDonald the benefit of the doubt as well and let him take a few more beatings, but he was almost like he was blocking his nose a little bit, like he didn't want his nose to get all messed up. Maybe his nose will never be the same. You get that much shatter in there, and who knows what happens when he gets punched in the nose, how that could feel. Probably not fucking good. I can tell you that much. Sad to see a local boy go down, Rory McDonald, and that he wasn't mentally prepared for that fight. It is sad to see him go. He's still a 170 champ, and I think he actually is in the 170 tournament as well, which I thought was a cool touch by Bellator to have the champ in the tournament. So he could potentially lose his belt as well that way. So I like that, how they're doing that as well. It was all in all, it was a great card. They had a few snore fests, but that's MMA for you. All in all, it was a great card for Bellator. I really like the matchup. Musashi's next matchup obviously is if Lyoto Machida wins. It's obviously going to be against Lyoto Machida. That's the only one that really makes sense. Just because, like I said before, their division is so depleted. I don't know really who else they are going to have to be able to challenge for that belt, because Lyoto Machida is going up against the champ, the previous 185 champ, who really beat up a lot of dudes that he wasn't supposed to beat up. So it is weird that way that maybe they got to go out. I think and 185 is one of the more saturated weight classes for other places, but tough one to fill for Bellator for some weird reason. They need more guys when it comes to that. Like you touched base on, Kelly, I thought it was a great point, is speaking of what Bellator needs is more of a women's division. Their women's division isn't great, and they just need more talent. They need such an injection of talent, where obviously most of them have been scooped up by Invicta. Like the good ones, the talented women are scooped up instantly by Invicta, and then ultimately go on to the UFC. I think it just leaves such a small gap, but you'd think there would be a market for women to fill that gap. I think we obviously, with the more popularity, with successful women, we will get more down the road. But even their champs, their whole talent pool isn't the deepest when it comes to all the women's divisions. And I think Bellator definitely needs to address that if they want fans. People love the girl fights. I like a lot of them too, and they really need to take a good hard look and getting more talent in there, being competitive when it comes to it. Obviously, they're trying to be competitive just with the guys, but I think they obviously have more of a talent pool when it comes to that. Maybe a shift of resources when it comes to that. Bellator's putting on two good shows coming up here in October, with Mitrione versus Bader coming up first. Followed up, and when you get the heavyweights, you get people, and that's just simple as that. The October 12th card is going to be Bellator 207. It's going to be huge, with Mitrione versus Bader to see who goes on to fight in that tournament. I really give it to Bader, a guy who has really reinvented his work ethic. Maybe is it the talent of Bellator isn't as deep as UFC will, obviously, but I think even so, he is really tearing dudes up to beat up King Mo like he did. He's going to have a bright future, and he will get paid. He came at the right place at the right time when it came to Bellator, because they are in desperate need of new 205s. And here's a dude who's coming in at 205, and then he's also in the heavyweight tournament. And then obviously Bellator 208, Sonnen versus Fedor the next day, with Benson Henderson versus Sada Wad as the under, and with even Czech Congo on that card as well. I hope they're both on TV. That's all I gotta say. I want to see them on Paramount Network, not on the streaming service. I will find out, I guess, closer to those dates when that will happen. All in all, great weekend of fights when it came to Bellator. They really put on some good shows and continue to do so. There was a Risen, I think it was Japan's got some weird timing. It was the 30th when it happened, so it must have just been early this morning was when it happened. I guess, it's Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon. Krokop was on the match. He did win somehow. Well, the most surprising thing was Bob Sapp won his match. Feel sorry for the dude he beat up. Like, how does he... And by decision. Bob Sapp going the distance and winning by decision. That is crazy. Risen's really high on this Yuri Prokryaka guy here. It's he has won some good fights. I think he's only lost to Krokop, but they need more heavyweights if they even want to compete. Get some Lithuanian sumo wrestlers in there or something. They got to figure out something. Darren Cruikshank has been one of their American stables. He beats Diego Brandel last night with a flying knee, no less too. Great. I guess they must have had a really crazy fight. But good to see Crow Cop in the winning circle again. I know he's basically like their only guy they have. Let's take a look at Bob Sapp's recent fights here. He's 12-20. What's the craziest thing about Bob Sapp is he's made so much money off one win, and that's against Ernesto Hoost. He beat Mr. K1, Ernesto Hoost, in the K1 tournament when the dude was on the top of his career, and Bob Sapp just bull rushed him and beat him up. And then he obviously went on from a downslide from there, obviously getting his orbital bone broken by Crow Cop. Really ended his career. He was never the same after that. You can see he had a great run in K1 and in Pride. Where is it here? I think he actually got his orbital bone broken in K1 in kickboxing. Yeah, against Crow Cop. You know what I mean? But he had a great run, and then I think it was right around here. Yeah, he was tearing it up in both sports. He only had like 3 losses, and then boom, his last win was 2010. Bob Sapp hasn't won in 8 years. That's a long time to go. That's a lot of losses. And then he had 3 fight loss before that win too. So he's got a lot of losses and only 2 wins over basically 9 years. That's a long way to go. But good for Bob Sapp. I like Bob Sapp. Huge fan, huge star in Japan. He was in Longest Yard movie. I like him. I think he's actually a really nice guy in real life too. Good for Bob Sapp getting back in the winning circle. I was gonna touch base with the last one, but I kind of ran out of time. But just how much of a joke boxing is right now with their heavyweight division. They got 3 guys basically: Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, and even Tyson Fury. I guess is that your best guys you can get at heavyweight? And Anthony Joshua, that was last week, and he fought a guy, but the guy was so undersized. He just was. It would look like he fought basically the equivalent of a MMA can. That's what your heavyweights are doing for the title belt, is fighting cans. Shouldn't you be fighting the best guys like Wilder and versus Joshua? I'm just very confused by boxing is at this point right now where a lot of people are watching. They gotta have these mega fights when it comes to heavyweights. I think boxing has always be probably the most popular combat sport, but I think as of right now, I think a lot of people's eyes are steering towards it, and I think they have to come up with this mega fight to replace the Klitschko brothers, obviously, and to have a legitimate number 1 heavyweight in the world. And it's even rumored now that Joshua's next fight isn't going to be Wilder as well, even though Wilder has called him out and said, I will fight you. Joshua is saying, I think I'll fight you, but then signs otherwise. And that's the biggest knock on boxing. And what are these guys? At least one of them fight Tyson Fury or something. And I know Tyson Fury his comeback tour is going good, but the guy doesn't have it upstairs, unfortunately, when it comes to Tyson Fury. Very disappointing with you, boxing. Step it up. And of course, Tyron Woodley's injured. Of course he's injured. I mean, touch base on that. What the hell? Of course, I called it. I'm like, oh, I bet you Tyron Woodley's gonna be injured after this fight, and he's gonna have to take 8 months off. Boom, broken hand. This guy, he's never not injured after a win. He just needs a vacation. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's a shame. I really thought that it was gonna be Hunt versus Saki in Adelaide in Australia. I really liked the UFC's move for giving Mark Hunt his farewell fight in Australia. Classy move when it must have probably been in his contract as well, but they did stick to it, even though he has been outspoken against UFC recently and their doping, and rightfully so. He's been right basically every time. But I thought they would have been Saki, but they're giving him Willis. It is going to be still a good matchup, and I think it's a winnable fight by Mark Hunt in his farewell. But I don't know if you want to go out on a win. I think that's the problem. I think That's a wrestling thing. I think maybe that's what I'm going off of here. Is in WWE you don't go off on a win, like your retirement match you lose, and I think that's the way it should be in MMA too. Just because you don't want to have the guy wins on a retirement match. How many times do you think he comes back? 100% of the fucking time he comes back when he wins on his retirement match. You know what I mean? So, but I do like that they gave him his shot there to do his match in headline in Australia. It'll be a great farewell. I'm sure emotions will be high, but the guy that gave him, I thought they would give him Gohan Saki. I thought it made more sense to me. But I guess Saki is he is only fighting at 205, so it would be weird that way. Now, I want to talk about the 165 division. Both Nate and Dustin Poirier have come out saying we are fighting for a title, for the 165 title, but Dana White has recently come out and said, no, this is not true. This is not happening. But it really leaves that New York card kind of without a like a main event then, really. I like Poirier and Diaz. But are they the main event of a New York card? No, not at all. So who's lying here? Is there a 165-pound belt? Is there not a 165-pound belt? Are they going to announce a main event, a title, a last-second shot? Is John Jones obviously going to be the rumored fight that they're gonna have? It is weird. It is UFC. How are you going to charge people pay-per-view money for a fight when it's Dustin Poirier versus Nate Diaz? So it is kind of weird with that. UFC's got something up their sleeve. And they're running out of time because they're just about a month away when it comes to it. I'm sure after the Conor fight, we will see there'll be a big announcement. I can almost guarantee it. Where does this leave it? I hope it's going to get something else. But as of right now, there is no 165-pound belt. I think the UFC does need a 165-pound belt. I think it adds to the flavor of what they're doing right now. More title fights means more people are going to watch. Why not make it up? And I think this really should usher in the era of 225-pound belt. Talked about this on the show before. 225 is the future of heavyweights. 205, 225. But I agree with what you were saying earlier, Kelly, is that would take up a good portion of an already depleted heavyweight division. But I think then open it up. 225 to 1,000 pounds. I don't care. 225 to 500 pounds. Just make it whatever. Make it open weight. I love that idea because I think there is a good amount of dudes who can't make the 260 weight pound division. Bring them on. They're guys who are 300 pounds, 350 pounds. A lot of football players are like that. And I think those dudes, huge linemen, defensive and offensive lineman dudes, are the dudes we want to see in the UFC. They don't take as many headshots, and these are the freak athletes of the world. These dudes truly are. These guys who are 300 and 350 pounds, and they can run like the wind. And could just imagine what that guy's gonna do to somebody if he learns kickboxing or if he learns jiu-jitsu. Most of them, I'm sure he has a wrestling background. So give that guy kickboxing or some kind of striking if he doesn't have it already. Dude could beat up anybody. So I think that really should usher in the 225-pound belt, making it a super heavyweight division. I just hope it does that. I think the UFC needs something a bit fresh right now. And I think that could really be the answer for it. You got to get out of this stagnancy that they're kind of in right now. And I think obviously bringing back Conor, they'll be okay. That's only a short-term goal. You guys need a long-term goal. Because if Conor loses, and then even if he does come back for a second fight and loses that fight, where's your plan now? Because now people are going to stop watching Conor. And it'll be all over when it comes to that. Good. It is good on him to be recognizing something at least, but we'll see what happens when it comes to it. One guy I was thinking of, and I don't know why. I think it was because of the Moncton card. The Moncton UFC card that's coming up. TJ Grant. Does the name ring a bell to you, Kelly?
Yes, but I can't remember who that is.
He's a lightweight. I think he actually is from Moncton. TJ Grant was one of those guys. Yeah, that's the reason why the name got brought up to me, because of the Moncton card. But he's from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia. He is Canadian. Dude left on one hell of a winning streak. I think he injured his hand or got real bad staph infection, I think, or a bad back injury or something. But walked away. I think he works in. He decided it was more lucrative for him to work in the pot ash mines in northern Saskatchewan, and I guess enjoys quality of life now, I guess. But such a weird move for this guy to walk away from MMA, 21-5, I think it was only because he started at 170 in his career. He had a few losses. He even fought at UFC 100. Had a long UFC career. Lost to Dong Hung Kim at 170. That dude's a huge 170. Beat Kevin Burns. Lost to Johnny Hendricks only by decision. Even his other loss was only by decision. Beats Julio Paulino, also 170. Loses to Ricardo Almeida, and still by decision. One of the best grapplers in the world. And then he moves to 155, beats Shane Roller, Carlos Prater, Evan Dunham even, Matt Wyman, and he knocks out Gray Maynard, and then I'm done. I'm gonna call it a career. Probably makes, like, I don't know. I guess like maybe it must be upwards of $200,000 a year working in potash, and Nova Scotia's got some of the cheapest real estate in North America. So maybe just like, hey, you know what? I've got one hell of a good life. I can enjoy my family and not have brain damage and call it a career. But it's just so weird. I don't know why he would have walked away. Why he wouldn't have had a bit of an eagerness to want to come back with the run he was on. I know he was definitely in talks to be the guy next in line for the 155-pound belt. I think he really would have added a good mix. He was more of a grittier, tougher Jim Miller that had some good stand-up. That's the thing. He was nasty at all facets of MMA. Another Canadian kid who just wanted to hang it up, was doing good enough on his own, I guess. Weird story. But I think we should do like a segment of what happened. Where are they now? What happened to them? You know what I mean? I think that would be kind of cool. Guys of our past. We've been watching fights together for such a long time. And there's always that guy, oh, this guy had this great run. He had a 3-fight win streak, and then he got knocked out 10 times in a row. Those guys, I think that'd be really cool if we brought that in, had a little stake. It's obviously probably the easiest segment to do, and probably every other MMA talk show has it. But I think I like it. I think we obviously get a different spin on it, for sure. Well, brings us to that time we always talk about video games. Kelly, you been playing anything new?
It's a new season of Fortnite. They have some new skins.
Nice. No, I saw this meme about it that was like saying, like, if you see a guy and like when the new season comes out and you see a guy with like tier 100, he's a virgin, something like that. You know what I mean? It's pretty funny because Fortnite is that new game where people devote their life to it, and it is a lot of fun. I'll give them that. It is a lot of fun when it's especially for the battle royale genre and just for a shooting game alone. I like it because it's kind of similar to the old Star Wars, the Clone Wars games. You know what I mean? Like those games were like super fun. They were like a third-person over-the-shoulder shooter. And I thought that's the reason why I'm not great at first-person shooters these days. That's a problem. I enjoy playing them, but I'm not as good as I used to be. I don't know what it is. I think I overthink it. I think when it comes to first-person shooters, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Haven't been as good as I used to be for some weird reason, or maybe I just was never good. I don't know. I don't know. Fallout 76 is right around the corner. Huge Fallout fan. I'm super excited for that. Kelly, you gonna get it? You should get it because I'm definitely gonna get it. It's gonna be a super cool like online base building with team building. It looks like an absolutely amazing game. Been a huge fan of Fallout since Fallout 1. I played the first one on PC easily 20 times through. Fallout 2 I was much more of a fan of. I must have played that one through like 40 times. Love it. Just played it through it 1,000 times. Love it. It was such a good game. So revolutionary, especially for the PC back then. Super hard games to get into. But once you got the way to kind of to play and use the world and the environments to your advantage, and I think you could really get to it. Obviously, the first parts of both those games were next to impossible. Obviously, 3 New Vegas and 4 are great games too. I just didn't like the building of the bases in the most recent one and the gathering of supplies. It was a little bit tiresome. There was a lot I do love treasure hunting RPGs like this, but it became a bit much. I think they overdid it a little bit. Still love the game. Played through it many times. And I think 76 is really going to go on this whole group thing also with an RPG aspect. And I think it's going to turn out really, really good. I'm super hyped for it. Comes out in November. short period away. I don't buy new games, but this is going to be the new game I will buy right out of the box, and I'm super excited for it. Give it a shot, Kelly. Take a look at a few trailers. They got a ton of trailers out for it. I think it'd be something right up your alley because it does have a bit of the aspects that you see in Fortnite. Obviously, the base building is more of a permanent base building rather than with the. I think that's what separates obviously Fortnite from PUBG. Is they always want to rag on that base building, but it is the funner part of the game is to be able to build your base and be kind of silly. What's funny is that the battle royale part, the actual game without the battle royale part, is actually a pretty good game of Fortnite as well. And a lot of people were like that because that's a huge base building one when you're kind of like almost like a tower building game where you're building your base. Then when the night comes, all the zombies attack you, and so you have to build a base that's strong enough to withstand that and be able to take it. So the good on them. And I think that's what Fallout has obviously stolen a little bit. Everyone's stealing that now. Everyone's doing that right now. More of a team game. It's all about online play. And that's what people buy. And obviously, because when it comes to that, you're going to buy other stuff that other people don't have. And it becomes in-game purchases is what we're seeing is all it is these days. I got Game Pass recently only because it was cheap. It was $2. Normally, I think it's like $11.99 a month on Xbox. So I got it because it was $2 for 2 months. I said, why the fuck not? That's, what I mean? I'm sure I could find one game that's good. And I was trying to find games to play with my son, like local co-op. Local co-op is totally dead now. It sucks. They don't have local co-op like they used to. And I think it's super downfall. I'm sure it takes a lot more time to add local co-op to a game. So that's why most people, I'm sure it's in the minimum that people do play local co-op. Probably the majority, we even say like 80, 90% would be just straight up solitary players who play online, who play their multiplayer that way. But I think you're getting rid of, when you want to add the local to it, I think it really adds to the game. And I want to see more of it. So we were searching up, okay, what game's good? So we're searching through. You get a good choice of games to choose from. So we're searching through, and then all the games we want to play didn't have local co-op. It was all online co-op. So we're like, okay, well, what are the only games that have local co-op? And we found this one game. My son's been talking about this game forever. Humans Fall Flat. Have you heard of this game?
Nope.
It is from looking at it, it looks like the worst, dumbest game ever. And by all, it kind of is. But as playing it more and more for a local co-op game, for playing with somebody beside you, and it was a lot of fun actually. It was actually turning out you're like this weird like doughy guy, and you can climb up walls, and you got to do different. It's like a puzzle game, right? So you can climb up walls, do different puzzly things. It's so simple, but it really works because they have like fun stuff, and like you can break glass and catapult yourself and break walls and just different things like that. They did add some funny aspects, and I think it was more the fun of me just trying to throw my son off the ledge or him trying to do things to me. That was really the fun part of the game. And you don't die, you just fall, and then you just fall right back to the beginning of your level. So it really caught me by surprise. Check it out. If you got Game Pass or if you got it for free or something, check it out. I think it's like $20. Definitely not worth $20. But it is a fun game. But the other game we got was Portal Knights. Really, really fun game. That was a local co-op and online co-op. It's a lot like, it's made by the people who made Terraria, which I liked that game a lot. A really fun game. And so it's like 3D Terraria mixed with Minecraft, and then sprinkled WoW on top of it. Just a little bit of World of Warcraft sprinkled on top. Really fun game. I think it's kind of cool. You got to kill enemies and mine stuff to get portal shards, then you build a portal shard to go to the next level, and so on and so on and so on. And then you build your guy up at the same time. You can build shit, and you get different items. And so I thought it was a nice little game for local co-op. Check them out. One segment I would like to bring in, and it's such an easy segment, it writes itself. Rapper versus rapper. Let's do it here, man. Like, it's so easy. Like, rappers always have beef with each other. You know what I mean? They hate each other. There's been documented since the beginning of rap time itself. So I think I proclaim the first rap MMA battle right in Compton. Let's do it here. Let's get right to it. Ding, ding. In this corner here, fighting from Florida, we have Stitches. And in the red corner, fighting out of Pots Unknown. The Game. I think that'd be a great matchup. Stitches in the Game. Obviously, they had their beef already with Stitches posting all those videos that he was outside. You know what I mean? I'm outside your club and dropping the N-word like crazy, even though he's not black, because I don't think he can do that. And he was going to different places that the Game was going to, and them kind of getting, but then him getting knocked out by the bouncer. So it kind of ended there. I don't know why they still didn't fight. I think that could have made money if both those dudes would have stepped in the ring. But I guess not. You could have like a whole card of it, and this is just basic rappers. There's so many guys out there. Especially we could do like a whole mumble rap battle episode. But you could do a whole card. Here's like a 4-fight card. Next fight. Fighting out of Kansas City in the red corner, Big Scoob. And his opponent facing in the blue corner, fighting from the grave from New York, Big Pun. It would have been a good matchup for the time. I love Big Scoob. Love strange music. But for Big Pun, he's such a huge dude. I think a fit Big Pun, it would have to be not like the super overweight one. I think those guys could go toe to toe. Big Scoob's a scrappy dude. So I think it could be a good matchup. And Battle of the Money. In the red corner, fighting out of New York City, Jay-Z. And his opponent facing him across the ring in the blue corner, fighting out of Louisiana, Master P. I think you have to give it obviously to Master P just because he's so big. Dude's huge. But maybe Jay-Z could beat him up. I don't know. I think Master P could probably take the whole thing. He's quite athletic. He was in WWE too. He was in WCW was Master P, so that could be a good one. But I think in the main event could be easy. Everyone would think, who are you going to think? Tupac and Biggie, right? For the main event, two dudes to fight each other. Did they really have beef with each other? I don't know, but two dudes. But I'm going to go a little bit different. I'm going to go Tupac versus Eazy-E for the main event. Since it's in Compton. I think Eazy-E was obviously a little guy, but I don't think Tupac was all that big of a dude too. So who do you think takes that crown, Kelly?
Tupac.
Oh wow, yeah.
A little bit bigger.
Yeah, Tupac. Yeah, Eazy-E obviously quite small guy. But I think when it comes to it, I think you got to give the edge to Tupac, even though he was a bit more of an actor. I think he's obviously got it going on when it comes to that.
I think he was a bit more athletic as well.
Yeah, exactly. Or Eazy just kind of known for just, banging chicks, I guess.
Getting AIDS.
Could be the best rapper in the world. That's all you're known for. Oh, shit. Well, I think that just about wraps it up for this show. Holy shit. An hour and 44 minutes. I cannot believe that. And, with room to spare. Can't believe it. Show number 4. Get out the dough. What's saying I love is toe up from the flow up. They should use that in fighting more often. He's tore up from the floor up. Shit. Anyways, on behalf of my producer extraordinaire Kelly, my name is Steven, signing off on the New Podcast. Have a great night.